What was the high point for you? Was it playing in the Super Bowl? Was it picking off those passes against McNabb in the NFC Championship game? When you think of the apex of your football career, what is it?
Yeah, I think that that'd definitely be one of the ones that's ranked up there the highest. Probably the 3 interceptions against Donovan McNabb in the NFC Championship. I just remember my agent after the game on the field saying, "You have no idea what you just did." And I was like, "Nah, I don't." But I know he's going to the Super Bowl, so it was great.
Well, I show everybody your ring, by the way. He's got that Carolina Panthers NFC Championship ring right there.
Yeah, I wore this ring instead of the Bears one because I didn't want Matt to wear his Indianapolis one because they beat us, you know. So I told Matt, "This is what the loser rings look like." He doesn't know that.
What role has your faith in Christ played in getting you through some of those hard times?
My faith in Christ has been a roller coaster earlier in my career. I've been saved and baptized since I was 17. But I first was brought to Christ because of my parents. My mom was a 100% believer, and I kind of was doing it to satisfy them initially. But I went through, like I said, some trials and tribulations, and one day, not one day, obviously it doesn't happen in one day, but it says that in the Bible it can happen in a moment, and it just hit me. I kind of look back at my life and some mistakes that I've made, although they wasn't too bad. I just started thinking about how I was living my life, and I started thinking about His grace. His grace is really what made me say, I need to get things together and stop living that normal life, that normality Christian walk, and going 100% and on fire for God. And when I started doing that and looking back at my life, I started realizing how much favor He has had on my life. If you look at me, I came out of high school. I was 5'8", 167 pounds. And I was getting recruited by every college in the nation. I didn't realize that at the time, but I was small. I played my freshman year at 170 pounds. Started the whole season.
And had an interception against Fresno State in his freshman year.
Yeah. My first start, yeah. I was actually tackled by my teammate Ronald Flores, which is one of my coaching staff now too. So that was cool. And then again, when I came out of college, I was only 185, 5'8" corner. I remember Frisco didn't even want to recruit me because I was too short. They said, in Green Bay also. But I started thinking about God's favor in my life. Why did He choose me? Why was I the one to pick off Donovan McNabb 3 times? This little guy. Why was I able to have success in the NFL at such a small stature? And I started thinking about why He revealed to me why He took me through this, why He needed me to go through those things. And I honestly and truly believe it's for the moment right now, for me to be, put me in a position of leadership and influence over those kids on the west side, Fresno, to really be able to influence them through my life, not just telling them through my experiences, and they really understand and hear me, to be a fisher of men. That this is why this is why I've had a career in the NFL. This is why I was able to succeed. It wasn't to pick out Donovan McNabb 3 times. It was to be a leader over there at Edison, and I honestly believe that.
In high school, you believed you were Superman. It wasn't just the Heisman poses after you scored a touchdown. You had the Superman shirt under your jersey. Where did that start? And how did that become as big as it was in this town at that time?
Well, it all started with my buddy Jonathan Finley, who's one of my teammates and one of my good friends now. He kind of gave me the idea. He's like, "You should wear a Superman shirt underneath your jersey." I was like, "What?" I was like, "That's kind of cool." And then I remember I was with Coach Rowe, who was a baseball coach at Edison and was my coach back then. We were in, I think, Long Beach or San Diego, one of them. He took me to the area code games. And he bought me my first Superman shirt. Really my only Superman shirt that I wore underneath my jersey.
It was pretty tattered by the end of his senior year, yeah.
Yeah, so he gave me that idea, and I was like, that might be kind of cool. So I remember, breaking it out against Washington Union, my first touchdown of the year, that first game of the year. I pulled up my shirt and it had the Superman jersey. You guys just ate it up. The media was blasted everywhere. It was on the news, and You know, the little kids, you know, Clifton Smith, when he first seen it, you know, he was a young guy then, but when he got to high school, he started wearing the Batman, you know. Then there was a Spider-Man. It was just, I mean, it really was an epidemic. So, but it was fun until they started flagging me for it. So, you know, then I had to kind of like do the sneak Superman real quick while the referee wasn't looking. And depending on the team, though, if it was a team that we just had to beat, we'd go ahead and take that 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, he did create a monster, literally. He talks about Clifton Smith. Clifton Smith and Lorenzo Sims came after him, and they were Batman and Spider-Man. And when Clifton got to Fresno State, and Derek remembers John Baxter, the special teams coach here forever, the #1 rule for the special teams group was that if Clifton Smith returned a touchdown, they had to tackle him immediately before he could show off the Batman shirt, and they got a 15-yard penalty. So you created a monster. But you talked about God showing your favor and you looking back and seeing his hand on your life. Maybe give us an instance of a stretch that you had to travel where you look back now and said, man, God was really looking out for me, protecting me when things could have gotten really sour.
In 2006, before I signed with the Bears, on an assault and battery case, and it was crazy because I've gotten in trouble for getting in a fight before. In this situation, I actually walked away from the fight, and the guy got into it with other people. But obviously, I was the only NFL guy there, so he was, coming after me. But in short, I still was sued. I still was held responsible for it, even though I was doing the responsible thing, walking away. But it was one of those, like Matt said, one of those closed fist situations where I was just like, why is this happening? But what it did wonders for me. It kind of put some restrictions on my life. I made the decision, my agent and I, to not be out past 2 o'clock anymore. Nothing good happens. And that's hard for a guy that's 24 with a lot of money. Want to go out and have fun in the city of Chicago. That was shut down. But that did wonders for me. I didn't even know it at the time. So I just started to kind of like just sit back and kind of look at my life and look at things that are going on, and that kind of gave me a discipline to not to be in the in crowd as much, to start really, I had a child, my first son was born that year. It kind of brought me back down to reality, taking a lot of things for granted and not realizing it, which a lot of guys do, especially in the NFL. They don't realize the blessing that God has put in their lives. A lot of guys take it for granted, and I'm guilty of it. But God used that situation, what the devil meant for harm, he used for good, and it really turned my life inside out. I did stop going to clubs, and that was like a turning point of me dropping a lot of things, whether it was what I was watching, what I was listening to, and it just started making me a stronger Christian, and then I became a lot closer to Christ because of it. And that was just one of those situations that was really like, it was life-saving for me, and I would tell my wife, that was the year I got married. I was like, you kind of saved my life, God brought you into my life at this moment for a reason. And a kind of quick story about that too. My wife, Tasha, went to Columbus West, and I met her in high school, and we became friends, but she wouldn't really give me the time of day at the time. So I used to be at USC like every day across town trying to make my friend my girlfriend, but it just wasn't happening. And not until about 4 years later, she kind of came along, and I thank God that was all God, because if I would have been over there then, it wouldn't have been pretty, so he kind of let me get prepared. He let me prepare myself and let me go through some things. He strengthened me a little bit first, and then 2006 was married to my wife, and that's when everything was a lot better.
Well, God's timing is perfect, don't we know that? Ricky, thanks a lot for sharing all that. The time is right for you at Edison now. Go Tigers.